Morning, peeps. Melomagog here, back again with another Week Ors video. Today I am going to be doing Frost Mage. Frost Mage is one of my favorite casters, I would say. I played Frost Mage as my primary alt pretty much the later half of Warlords of Draenor, and they've always been a class and spec I've particularly enjoyed. I feel like I'm pretty good at it, seeing as it was a spec I actually spent time rating on slightly. So this is the current mage I am playing, Barafu. He used to be a female orc, but I really didn't like her that much, and I said as soon as Zandalaris get released, I will race change her. So now she is he, and he is Barafu, which I think is like Swahili for frost or something. I don't know. I was feeling a little weird that day when I decided to name him, but I like it. So let's look at talents first. So from what I understand of these talents, there are some quote-unquote correct answers, there are some incorrect answers, and there's some answers that are technically correct, but not necessarily the best kind of correct kind of thing. So we'll start here. I like Lonely Winter. I think the frost elemental gets in the way of at least my kind of UI playstyle, seeing things. It buffs your other stuff. This apparently is not the quote-unquote correct choice now, but I think it is the correct. It is not the correct choice because of another thing that we'll get into a second. So if we ignore this other thing, it might be better, which I ignore that other thing anyways, but we'll get to that in a minute. I think this is what they tell you to take. It increases all of your damage except Glacial Spike. Or no, increases including Glacial Spike. I don't know. I think this is obviously the not right choice, but I think these two are your options. But like I said, this depends on this. So let's talk about this then right now. So according to the theory crafters, Glacial Spike is the only option if you want to play max DPS. But there's an asterisk with that. It's like, yes, it's the best if XYZ happen. So what you have to do is you basically have to force crit all of your icicles. So you have to have Shatter up for every Glacial Spike. Or I'm wording this poorly. So Frost Mages have let me find it, a passive called Shatter, where basically against frozen targets you get triple crit, is basically what it boils down to. That's why the frost crit, your cap is 33.33. You never want to go anything over than that, because anything over than that is wasted on frozen targets. So in order to make Glacial Spike the best, it always has to be against a frozen target, which there are ways to make a target frozen without it actually being frozen. We won't get into that. But it also needs to have your Incanter's Flow at like the 5 stack. So I feel like this is a trap talent. It's like, if you know exactly what you're doing and you are tracking 3 different buffs, debuffs types of things, it is the best talent to take. I do not play that well on my alts. I think it's even debatable if I play that well on my main. Like, there's being good at your class and your spec, and then there's like minutia that only the top guilds in the world need to really worry about. I feel like that talent falls into that kind of thing. Like, I used to track my buffs and all this stuff, and the difference is like 2 or 3% for most classes, I would say. But when your whole DPS revolves around min-maxing one 3-second cast that is a requirement for you to stack up your icicles anyways, I feel like it's like there's 6 different things that need to go right for this to be the best talent, and unless you know what all 6 of those are and you are watching and tracking, this is a trap talent. So that's why I take Thermal Void. Ray of Frost is like, you don't want to do this. This was like the Hellfire Citadel on your elemental thing where you got extra Fingers of Frost when you Frostbolt while he was doing it. But yeah, this, don't take this. So if you know exactly what you're doing, you take this. If you don't want to have to worry about tracking 6 things, take this. Therefore, this talent becomes more palatable if you are not taking this, because the reason that this talent is, quote, not the best is because it doesn't buff this damage. But if we're not worrying about this, I think either of these 2 options are fine, and I prefer the Sanzapet talent. Alright, all that done. These talents or whatever, I mean, I like Shimmer because it gives me 2 blinks. These are the ones you can cast while moving. You kind of know what all that does. I think Incanter's Flow is the nice set it and forget it thing. I think Mirror Image has been nerfed like every expansion, so that it's not nearly as good as it used to be. And Rune of Power requires a lot of knowing the fight inside and out, knowing where you're going to move, all that kind of stuff. Plus, it's only a 10-second rune now, so it's you can only ever have 50% uptime on this, which is alright. Let's talk about the 60 tier now. So Ebon Bolt is just the Legion artifact from last tier, expansion, whatever. I don't like it because I feel like I have enough buttons already. It's not a bad choice. It gives you a Brain Freeze proc, so that's a free flurry, instant cast, so that's good. I feel like I like Frozen Touch. Excuse me. Because this also gives me more Fingers of Frost and Brain Freezes. And that's the majority of your damage, the Fingers of Frost, Ice Lances, and the Brain Freezes. I don't think this one's a bad choice either, but I think Ebon Bolt and Frozen Touch are better. Like I said, I like Frozen Touch because as you can see here on how my bars are set up, I usually use 1, 2, 3, 4 on the keyboard. This is my keyboard side. Sometimes 5, very rarely 6. I just have this thrown over here because it's in the spot where I normally have Ebon Bolt. And then I have a Razor Naga where I have 12 buttons on my mouse, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 here. And I like to use 4, 5, and 6 for rotational abilities. So then I use 7 for movement speed, 8's an interrupt, 9's either a heal or a shield, 2's a CC, 3 is a offensive cooldown, or defensive if I'm a tank, and 1 kind of floats in and out. Right now I've got Frost Nova on it for Frost Mage. Excuse me. So I feel like I've got enough buttons without Ebon Bolt, because I like having Spell Steal easily accessible so I can grab stuff from people. But if you have your bar set up better, or you have a better way to keybind stuff, and you like Ebon Bolt, go for it. I feel like I'm of the opinion that when I'm playing a Frost Mage, the only thing I want to ever hard cast is Frostbolt. Everything else I want instant cast, so I'm moving. And Ebon Bolt kind of gets in the way of that. We'll use it here for the first little bit, just so we can see it, the weak aura in action. But I don't take it, because like I said, I like Frost Mage cast Frostbolt. Did something proc, hit that. Then go back to Frostbolt. Like, that's how I like to play Frost Mage. And so Ebon Bolt gets in the way of that, because it's a big long cast. So, okay. In this next tier, these are all like defenses, CCs, whatever, do what you want. This tier, I feel like there is no wrong answer on this tier. These are more what you want to do. So I feel like Freezing Rain is the obvious multiple AoE all the time talent. Splitting Ice is the 2-target cleave. Comet Storm is the single target or the only sometimes AoE. I don't know, the Splitting Ice might be single target too. I like Comet Storm because it just looks cool, but I think I also take Splitting Ice some too. But Comet Storm's an instant cast, so it kind of goes with the thing. This is more of the passive thing. So enough talking about that. Let's go up and start throwing some spells at a target dummy up here. Alright, so let's just get going. So you can see everything procs here. So we've got, let's throw this Ebon Bolt, we're gonna get a Brain Freeze proc. Let's throw this Frozen Orb, we're gonna get a Fingers of Frost. Let's throw this Comet Storm. Oh, we got the Fingers of Frost there. If you see down under my character, it's very pale and kind of like the alpha is turned down. It says missing. That means that my ice barrier is missing. It is both not on me and it is off cooldown is what that weak aura tracks. So it is just a nice, useful reminder that is kind of in a passive way, because it's kind of, like I said, faded a bit, that you could have a defensive up. And there we go, and it went away. Alright, so Comet Storm came back up. So as you see, the only thing I am hard casting right now is Frostbolt, which is how I like it, but Ebon Bolt's going to come up here. There it is, so we're going to Ebon Bolt, Forever Cast, Brain Freeze, Fingers of Frost. Alright, so let's get out of this combat for a second here. Let me swap off of Ebon Bolt to Frozen Touch. Oh, well, that's on cooldown. Alright. So we're going to swap Ebon Bolt off. I'm going to put my Spell Steal back where I like it. And then we're just going to look at these weak auras a bit. If you noticed, the weak auras, the Fingers of Frost and the Brain Freeze, these are actually the exact same ones that the default UI uses. I like them. They look good. They don't look like out of place, I don't think. So I just basically co-opted them and used them as well. So is is Ebon Bolt off cooldown yet? Yes. So swap to Frozen Touch, and let's just look at these again. So we're gonna start with that. We're gonna go into this. Let's get. So one thing about the Fingers of Frost, you can only hold 2 Fingers of Frost procs. So if the second one is ever up, you want to hit that really quick. This one you can kind of hold on to and like bank, as it were, because you're not wasting it yet. But if this one ever procs, you want to hit that one immediately. Same with the Brain Freeze. You cannot hold multiple Brain Freezes, and so if this procs, you want that to be your next cast, so you don't accidentally waste a proc. So there we go, and then Comet Storm's back up. And so this is my preferred way to play Frost Mage right now. Is the only thing I'm hard casting is Frostbolt. When something procs, I hit that. Otherwise, I just go back to Frostbolt. I be proactive about my ice barrier. So we got that and that. Oh, I probably shouldn't have. Yeah, I probably should. When the Frozen Orb comes up, I had 2. I probably should have used 1 first before using the Frozen Orb, because the Frozen Orb will automatically generate 1. So if we watch closely, Ice Barrier is about to fall off, and there it goes, so it's back up. So let's use this, and then let's click it off. I can't click it off in combat for some reason. Alright, let's do a Cancel Aura. No, that's going to be way too complicated, because it's going to try to drop combat on me. So these are my Frost weak auras. I will post these in the link below. If you like them, great. If you don't, screw you. No, I'm joking. As always, take my advice with a grain of salt, as these are not tunes I am playing all day, every day in a raid environment. These are just tunes that I enjoy playing, and I feel like I have a modicum of knowledge about them. So I will get all these weak auras, and there it is. Okay. And post them. So hope you can have some use out of them. See you, peeps.